So what I'm going to show here is some possible arson ignition points that we have found and recorded with the fire as far as the brush part of the fire goes. And here you can see there were three probable areas of ignition on the south point, which I'm going to show you what we found there, which is, fairly conclusive. There's another point on Lahaina Luna in the middle, which was started, and then there's another ignition point to the north, which is a little more nebulous and hard to tell. So I'm going to show this point right here on the far right side of the screen where you can see, the winds 99% of the time travel from the south to the north across this area from Laniapoko. And this point right here is on the bypass just on the north side of Laniapoko. And there's a point right there where you can see where it was the upwind part where it started at a point source and then spread and then opened up into the big fire. So when you're looking for arson points, this is something you look for. And this is it on the east side of the island. And that point right there is just in the brush. And I'm going to show you a little video that we took right here alongside of the highway where you can see that point right there in the dry brush, further than you can flick a cigarette. You'd have to get out of your car and start it. This is Laniapoko to the right, no fires up there. It starts there, it travels downwind along that little ridge line. It then expands and goes uphill toward the Laniapoko area. And then it continues on its merry way toward Lahaina. And many people think it jumped the highway, but I'm going to show you that there was a separate fire on the other side of the highway as well from this ignition point. So the other side of the highway, on the west side of the highway, you see another point right there where right alongside the highway it starts, it goes downwind from there, and it crosses over. So I have a little video about this one where you can see this part of the brush right here. And again, this is a few weeks after the fire when they finally opened it back up to traffic. So things had cleared, but there's no fires upwind from that. And from this point right alongside the highway, it burns. It then travels through the brush down the hill, being wind driven, as that's the direction the wind drives. It goes along that valley, takes out the fence line, and goes on its merry way toward Lahaina. And you can see how that is the point source upwind portion where all that started. And across the street right here, you can see ignition point right there across the street as well, those 2 points. And then there's another point here in Lahaina Luna area, which started, and it was just below a solar farm. And there's high power transmission lines there. There's probable cause that could have been ignited from something within that power lines or that solar farm. But can't really prove that. The other point is up here on the north end is where a brush fire happened somewhere along here. And there's a road all along the area that's the line. And now Google Earth doesn't do a total job of doing it, but they showed the fire here, but they didn't show this section here. But the fire actually goes along this road, drops down this road here. So there's another ignition point somewhere along that road where there is no power lines along that road. That's another possible source of arson ignition. And I saw the same thing in Kula, where again, alongside of the highway in Kula, you'll see on that way, there's no fire. This is the way the winds generally drive this way and downhill. And you can see this area here burning and it going and then opening up and taking out that forest area downwind from the trade normal winds. You can see the spot right here alongside the highway where that point right there started it. It went down alongside that way by the fence line. It also went across the fence into this little area of some dead trees and then continued the combustion downwind. So that's 3 very likely arson points where the starting the fire happened. And just a general point to know, this is in the Olinda area, the fire that happened. This is the pine forest. And you can see it, fire took out the underbrush, but it didn't actually burn the trees or harm the trees. It was just a flash fire of the underbrush and then went on its way. And the same thing with the eucalyptus forest. Here you see the pine forest still intact. You know, it's going to grow back again. We didn't actually lose the forest land. It just took out the underbrush, which is a good thing. And the other is the eucalyptus up in Olinda area. Again, it burnt the bases of the trees, but the rest of the trees are still intact and they're going to live. It just took out the underbrush. So that's what I have to share.